Welcome to our overview of the revised Model Complaints Handling Procedure and specifically the main changes you'll see in it. We published the revised Model Complaints Handling Procedures for all sectors except the NHS in January 2020, and organisations must use them from April 2021 onwards. So this presentation is designed to help you understand and implement the changes we have made. Let's start by telling you what has not changed in the revised procedure. There are still 2 complaints handling stages and the actual process and timescales remain the same. Stage 1, the frontline response, 5 working days to resolve or respond to the complaint. And Stage 2, investigation, 20 working days to resolve or provide a written response to the complaint. The only timescale that has changed is the extension at Stage 1 for social work. This has been brought in line with other sectors and is a maximum of up to 5 working days, meaning that social work complaints now have the same Stage 1 timescale as any other complaint. That is, up to 10 working days, including any extension. Let's take a look at the main changes. There are 5 main changes and we're going to go through each of them in turn. They are a renewed focus on resolving complaints as soon as you can, making complaints work for everyone as much as possible, from the customer to members of staff who are the subject of complaints, more information about complaints made via social media, as this didn't really feature in the original procedure, agreeing the complaint with the customer at Stage 2, and some changes to the governance side of things, recording, reporting and learning. The first change we're looking at is the focus on resolution. We know that early resolution is best practice in complaints handling and always has been. We wanted to highlight this in the revised procedure and remind complaint handlers that they can think about resolving the complaint at any stage of the process. Previously, when you finished considering a complaint, you decided whether it was either upheld or not upheld. Upheld means the organisation agrees with the customer that something has gone wrong, and not upheld means the organisation hasn't found any failings. We have now added a third outcome, resolved. The revised procedure's definition of resolved is: a complaint is resolved when both the organisation and the customer agree what action, if any, will be taken to provide full and final resolution for the customer without making a decision about whether the complaint is upheld or not upheld. If you decide that a complaint is resolved, using the definition on screen, there is no requirement for a detailed response at either stage of the revised procedure. However, you still need to record what you have agreed with the customer and what action you have taken, and you still need to signpost the customer to the next stage of the process, whether that's Stage 2 or the SPSO. You may also still decide that you need to look into the matter to fix an underlying problem or for organisational learning purposes. For example, you receive 5 complaints from different customers about a member of staff not turning up to appointments in the last few weeks. You resolve the complaints by immediately organising new appointments for the customers. However, there appears to be a pattern of poor service and you decide that as a result you need to look into the issue further. If you know the organisation has fallen short of expected standards, you should always uphold the complaint and apologise to the customer. This example highlights the importance of being able to record learning, whether that's for complaints that are resolved, upheld or not upheld. You can find more information about the minimum standards we expect for learning from complaints in Part 4 of the revised procedure. The next main change that we're looking at is the theme of making complaints work for everyone, for organisations, their staff and their customers. Firstly, supporting the customer to make complaints. Organisations need to specify in their own complaints handling procedures how they meet their duties to make their complaint service accessible to relevant groups under equalities and mental health legislation. They should also specify how they will make the complaint service accessible to vulnerable customers, thinking beyond the groups covered by legislation. So, for example, how do you ensure your complaint service is accessible to older people, homeless people, and those without internet access? In the summer of 2020, SPSO published our own guidance that highlights potential vulnerabilities and provides examples of possible adjustments we can make to our own service. Organisations can use these examples to meet the new requirements set out in the revised procedure, although they're not prescriptive. The guidance can be found on our website. Another part of making complaints work for everyone is making sure organisations support staff who are the subject of complaints and provide them with information and updates about the progress of those complaints. The revised procedure says organisations must share the relevant parts of the complaint with the staff involved, signpost those staff to support and information if the complaint is at stage 2, keep those staff updated about the progress of the complaint in addition to keeping the customer updated, and share the relevant parts of the complaint response with the staff involved. This means that staff who are complained about will be kept in the loop and will feel more supported by their organisations.
Still within the theme of making complaints work for everyone, we have amended the section that refers to managing unacceptable behaviour. This is now called expected behaviours. To try and avoid problems emerging in this area, we are encouraging organisations to be clear and upfront with customers about what standards are expected of them. In the event that unacceptable actions occur, there will be a clear standard to measure these against and explain why the action is unacceptable. The revised procedure sets out suggested text that organisations may wish to use. A screenshot of this can be seen here on the right-hand side of the slide. Organisations are still required to have a clear process for managing unacceptable actions. A link to this process can be included in this section of the procedure. In recent years, more and more people have been turning to digital platforms to communicate with organisations, and we've been asked by all sectors for guidance on what to do when complaints are raised via social media. The revised procedure now includes guidance on this. Where a complaint is raised via a digital channel managed and controlled by the organisation, for example, an official Twitter address or Facebook page, as a minimum, organisations must explain that they do not take complaints on social media and signpost the person to the complaints handling procedure and relevant contact details, as well as the support that's available to them. Where the organisation chooses to accept or respond to simple complaints on social media, the revised procedure includes suggested text on this. There is no expectations to monitor social media that is not owned or managed by the organisation, for example, private Facebook groups or YouTube channels. However, if staff become aware of complaints raised on non-official channels, organisations may choose to empower staff to signpost to the complaint handling procedure. Abusive or offensive content posted on social media channels should be managed under the Unacceptable Actions Policy or equivalent. The guidance under What is a Complaint in Part 2 makes it clear that abuse and unsubstantiated allegations that fall under the Unacceptable Actions Policy are not a complaint. Through analysing our casework findings around complaints handling, one of the issues we identified was failings in fully and accurately responding to complaints and in managing customers' expectations. To address this issue across all sectors, it is now mandatory to agree the points of complaint and outcome sought with the customer. Where the points of complaint and outcome sought are clear, organisations can confirm their understanding of these with the customer when acknowledging the complaint. Where the points of complaint and outcome sought are not clear, you must contact the customer to confirm these. Ideally, this will involve speaking directly to the customer by phone or face-to-face, and for simple complaints, this can be clarified in writing. This helps to manage expectations from the outset and ensures a clear shared understanding of what is being investigated. The revised procedure gives more detailed guidance on this, including managing situations where the customer raises an unreasonably large number of complaints to be investigated separately, or frames their complaint in an abusive way. The final key change to the revised procedure relates to governance arrangements. The revised procedure sets out new guidance on best practice recording of the full complaint journey through Stage 1, Stage 2 and to the SPSO, and a minimum standard where the need for service improvement is identified. There will be a core set of indicators for all sectors to report against, and these will be published on our website. And in relation to publicising complaints information, organisations are required to publish complaints outcomes and actions taken to improve services on a quarterly basis, and publish an annual complaints performance report against specified complaints performance indicators on their website. All organisations are required to implement the revised procedure by the 1st of April 2021. The revised procedure is provided as a template for organisations to adopt. All Word versions are available on our website. When adopting the text, there is scope to reflect, for example, the organisation's structure, operational processes, and corporate style, as well as corporate identity and language. However, you must ensure that when adopting the text, it is not amended to the extent that it doesn't reflect the purpose or substance of the Model Complaints Handling Procedure or its key aims. Further guidance on adopting the procedure can be found in the Implementation Guide. All the revised procedures and complaints handling tools and resources are available on our website via this link. You can get in touch with us for support with adapting and adopting the revised procedure, and for any complaint handling queries in general at this email address and phone number. For any training queries, please write to us at this address. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it helpful.